Is it recording?
I heard recording in
Oh,
progress.
I didn't hear the lady.
Oh,
Okay.
I
But
heard it.
well, that's good. I'm
I
glad she
hope
talked to you.
I hope
Yeah,
that
no,
it's
no, no, no.
recording
Mine
you.
says it does it says recording dot dot
Oh,
dot. So we're
okay.
good. I
Oh
just
yeah,
didn't
this
hear her
meeting is
say.
being recorded.
Probably because last time I had the third screen up, so I probably heard it from
Oh,
that
one of
one.
your many screens.
Today we're working with just one. So,
I
but
hope
this
it's
isn't
gonna
the
be
screen
okay.
episode.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more.
All
All right.
right.
Well, I will
Insert Brian music.
do. Welcome to another episode of Millennial Mom Thoughts.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Oh, you did it. You actually did it. I'm Jordan. That's Helen with her very enthusiastic intro.
And sometime we'll figure out an actual introduction,
Maybe,
but
maybe
maybe
not.
or maybe
Maybe
not.
that's it.
Maybe
Maybe
it
you
is.
just did it, and
I
that's
mean,
forever what you have to say.
I love it. I would love that.
Oh my
The goal
gosh.
now is to get you to say it, but not today.
Yeah,
Today,
I'll consider it.
what are we talking about today, Jordan?
Well, today's episode, episode 2, we are talking about the overall or main argument from the anxious generation, which is that childhood has gone from a play-based childhood to a screen-based childhood, and that started around like 2011, 2012, somewhere around in there. Coincidentally enough, when the iPhone, smartphone boom happened. Um, so really, I think we could start with like what are our histories
Hmm.
or our interactions with technology and maybe phones more specifically. I wish I could remember exactly when I got my phone, but it wasn't a monumental thing that
Hmm.
it wasn't a huge deal because it was probably when I was 16 or 17, so when I was first driving. But I didn't have texting. Well, my phone had texting capabilities, but it charged you per text to send it and receive it.
Hmm.
And so we weren't allowed to. That wasn't a thing. It wasn't part of our whatever plan. I know it's not a data plan because
Hmm.
that wasn't a thing either. But so it was just phone calls. And I remember spending significant amount of time on like just talking on my cell phone, but during off hours, not during
Hmm.
peak hours, because it costs more money. So that was when I got my phone, was somewhere around 16 or 17.
Yeah, and I remember that whereas my siblings both got phones when they turned 16, when they got their driver's licenses, I got a phone, I believe seventh grade, when I started junior high basketball. And
Oh,
that
interesting.
was the
Okay.
reasoning was that Helen's doing this after school activity and might need to call us if schedules change, if she needs rides, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a track phone. I don't know if that's what you had either, but mine was a track phone, which was like the pay
I
per. I think I
Yeah.
had like I could make, I don't know if it was unlimited calls or like it didn't track my calls, but it tracked text messages. So I
So you had
didn't start
texting.
text. I had it, but I didn't use it for a really long time because
Okay.
most of my friends didn't have it or we didn't use it in that way. We were
Yeah.
AIM,
Oh,
IM
yeah.
in nonstop, but
Yeah.
yeah. And then I feel maybe it was kind of through my time in junior high, seventh into eighth grade, where like texting slowly became part of life. Because when I think about high school, like that was the default. That's how we communicated.
Well, and
But
maybe we should say, so when did you graduate high school?
yes, I graduated high school 2012.
Okay, and I'm
And I,
2004.
hmm
So we're yeah, I'm trying to think. So when you're in seventh grade, and oh man, I shouldn't
well,
have done this is gonna
here's
involve math.
the best thing about my graduating class is that I graduated 12th grade in 2012,
There
11th
you
grade in
go.
2011,
Oh,
10th
that's
grade.
even
It's awesome.
easier.
Yeah, kindergarten 2000.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
amazing.
So
They're
if
all,
you started kindergarten in 2000,
yeah.
I was a freshman in
Oh,
high
well, no,
school.
I started kindergarten in 99,
Oh,
but
okay. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then technology wise, you were using it sort of around the time, like if you were in seventh grade, I mean,
Hmm.
I was in college then, but the technology maybe wasn't super different at
Hmm.
that point.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it was a flip phone. I'm pretty sure it was a flip
Mm.
phone.
Oh, mine didn't flip. And I remember a girl in band had like the pink Razor flip phone,
Oh,
and
my
that
sister
was
had that.
the
Yeah.
coolest thing ever. The
She
coolest.
bejeweled hers or bedazzled or whatever. I specifically remember my mom and sister getting like the hot glue gun
Yeah,
and I don't, you're probably not supposed to do that, but
she
or maybe there
did.
was a kit. I think there was a kit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
Okay. I
They
got to
buy
borrow
it.
a bedazzler once for a dance costume. Kind of
Oh,
forgot that.
bring it
That,
back.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But I do want to back, so we're like talking about, little old Helly, don't call me Helly,
Well,
being in kindergarten, etc. I want to hear about early Jordan. Because it was just brought to my attention before we started recording that 5-year-old Jordan was writing raps.
yeah,
I don't know if you want
accurate.
to share more about that or specifically or broadly, what did play look like for you before, phones started becoming a thing as you're growing up? Give me a specific memory or like how did young Jordan like to play?
Well, I had a pretty underground rap career, so I don't know that I should bring that up at this point. It's pretty secretive. No. I was just really good at rhyming. I don't know, even at 5. Yeah, play was it was outside. And I do remember unsupervised play, not like in a dangerous way, but I could go, we lived on a cul-de-sac,
Mhm.
which was great. So there, traffic wise, there really weren't a bunch of cars because you didn't go down that street unless you lived on that street or you were lost or something. So we were in the cul-de-sac constantly, bikes, little scooters, whatever, doing chalk. So
Mhm.
I did a lot of outside play. I'm sure it was supervised. I mean, I'm sure my mom was looking out the window and mom and dad were looking out the window.
Mhm.
But I remember feeling like, oh, I can just play.
Mhm.
And there were neighborhood kids. My next door neighbors were about my age, 3 boys. And so we would play. They'd come in my backyard, I'd go in theirs. So I distinctly remember, childhood being a lot of outside time,
Mhm.
and freedom. You know, I could ride my bike. I wish I could remember the first time one street over there was a church playground that we had, the Little Friends Church, and I I feel like in first grade I would walk over there by myself.
Mhm.
I mean, I know my parents certainly went with me and my sister a ton of times, but I feel like I have memories of going out on my own pretty young, and it not being a thing to seriously worry about.
Mhm.
I should probably ask my mom, like, did you worry about me going on my
Mhm.
own, walking or on my bike? And,
Yeah.
but it happened enough that have memories of doing
Mhm.
that on my own.
Well, I can answer on behalf of my mom that she did worry because one of my core memories is a time when my friends were allowed to go play unsupervised and I was not allowed. I had to stay home. So I
Oh,
had like two close friends that lived like basically in my backyard. Like one girl was in my backyard, one was kind of catty corner, but like we could get to each other's houses by crossing through fences and neighbors' backyard. But they were allowed to walk 1 block over to the grade school and go play by themselves one afternoon. They had called, can Helen come play? My mom asked whose parents are going, and no parents were going. My mom couldn't go, so she said no, I could not go play with them. I want to say, well, I know it was first grade.
okay. I was gonna
Was the
ask
age, yeah.
what
So
age
this
was that?
would have been first grade. And so then all day I'm just begging, like, can't I go play? Because now it wasn't even about like playing with my friends. I just wanted to go play on the playground, please, please, please. So the moment my dad got home from work, he, walks in the door. I'm like, please, 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 will you take me to play? And so he put down his work purse and I think took off his like suit jacket whatever, walks with me to the playground, takes the newspaper with him, and I remember him sitting on the swing set reading the newspaper. I go off to play on what we called the spider, which was like four monkey bars that kind of connected, like they came up from the ground and then connected in the middle, so you could like climb on it, you could do monkey
Oh.
bars, you could sit on it. And I had the bright idea to go onto like the monkey bar part and put my hands on one rung and my feet on another.
Uh-huh.
And then my feet slipped and my hands slipped and I fell face down in the
Face
rocks.
down. Oh no.
So I'm on the ground yelling. And in my dad's memory, he always says like at first he thought I was like yelling at the school. Like that's a thing that a kid would do is like lay on the rocks and
Darn you,
yell at this,
school.
which coming from like I love school. I played school every day of my life
Yeah.
in the little basement classroom. But anyway, once he realized like something was wrong, turns out I yeah fell, crashed, like busted my lip open, and had to go to the ER and
There
get
you go.
stitches and all that. So honestly, I feel like that like validated a little bit for me if I'm trying to like analyze this now, like my own catastrophization tendencies is like, well,
Huh.
the time my mom wouldn't let me go, like she was right. Like obviously
Oh
I
man.
wouldn't, I can't
Yeah.
say like I would have gotten injured and my only my friends would have been there. But anyway, that's not the
Interesting.
story I was planning to share. But now you talked about that, it's like, oh, actually, I distinctly remember when other kids were allowed to go play and I was not.
And you were not.
Yeah. And now
Well,
I have a rad scar on my lip.
oh, you do. Did you
Mhm.
require stitches?
Yeah.
You
Yep.
did require stitches. Okay.
hmm
Yeah, I mean,
It's
but that's even kind of brought up in the book too,
hmm
like that the point of play certainly is as kids is exploring and
hmm
learning independence and taking risks is part of it.
hmm
And sometimes those risks pan out and sometimes
hmm
they require perhaps an ER visit.
hmm
And not that you want that over and over again, but like I wonder, did any of that like change how you played, or was it
Yeah,
I'm in
no.
first grade and I just still do, you
No,
know,
because I
crazy moves?
also I broke my arm on a swing set in the fifth grade. So,
Okay. I have never, oh my gosh, I need to knock on wood like 1,000 times. I've never broken a bone.
yeah, I was the only kid in the family who broke a bone. But
You're the
and then it
only.
was I think a week or two before dance recital, so I had to do a one-handed cartwheel and I nailed it. So,
How does
eh,
one do a one-handed dance recital cartwheel?
yeah, it was
I'm trying to picture it. I can't.
okay. I'll find the VHS and
Please.
we'll put it in the show notes. Just kidding.
We'll link
We're,
we'll link
we
it.
don't
We'll make
we
an
don't know how to
Instagram
do that.
page.
We don't know how to do that yet.
Oh my
But
gosh, that would be
anyway,
hilarious.
I likewise enjoyed playing outside, but also really
Yeah,
like imagine, playing pretend, whether that was playing school or me and my friends were really into olden days where we'd, trade rocks as shillings and have to go out and hoe the fields and do all the things, which is like talking to one of my friends recently about her daughter's obsession with mermaids. Oh, yep, she's just out playing mermaid princess. And it's like, oh, I never did that. I was always like, were olden days Dust Bowl or like
Dust Bowl.
abandoned children, like it was always kind of
Oregon
grim. Or
Trail.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
yeah. Oh man, I remember Oregon Trail too.
hmm
Um, I wonder then, okay, let's think about, so that's our childhood, mine, early
hmm
90s. Um,
Mine early 2000s, I guess.
yeah. What what do you see as today? Like what do you think
Mhm.
about kids' childhood today?
Yeah, I think it is a lot more guarded, sheltered, like observed. What's the word
Yeah.
I'm really looking for? It's not surveilled. That makes it sound scary, but a lot
Well, kind
more.
of.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
even, so it's the interesting thing of where my sister's kids now go to the same grade school that I went to, and they like
Right.
start the morning at grandma and grandpa's, so they walk the same little block that I always did. And for example, they have trackers in their backpacks so that they're allowed to walk, I think, home from school now sometimes, but they've got like a tile in the backpack so that
I was gonna say
they can
like an
see.
air tag,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe.
See,
Okay.
I don't know exactly how these things work. Um,
Okay. I have them
'cause
on my keys. That's
Yes, I guess I do
yeah.
have that too. Yeah, yeah. But so that's just like one example of like I walked to and from school with my friends or sometimes by myself, rode my
Same.
scooter, rode our bikes, whatever the weather was, whatever the cool thing was at the time, we'd do that all together. Um, so yeah, that's one way I see it in younger kids. And of course, I've got my little baby, so I haven't had to start making those decisions for us yet. What about you? What do
Yeah.
you notice? Yeah.
I remember, I mean, I walked to school. I think it was like a quarter-ish mile for me. And I remember doing that. It was either first or second grade. At least second grade. I remember my backyard neighbor, we walked to school together. Um, Not every day, but plenty of days that, again, I
Hmm.
remember it. And thinking now, man, thinking of my, Camden, my now 5-year-old, soon to be kindergartner. I don't know if now we live far enough. Our
Hmm.
house it's not walkable to the school.
Hmm.
But, if it was walkable like the junior high,
Yeah.
even still, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hmm.
And I don't know how much of that is my own anxiety. I mean, it is. I think most of it's my anxiety. But I don't know if it's, like fear of kidnapping, because that was a big thing that kind
Hmm.
of boomed in the 90s. So at least my parents and maybe your parents too, that was like it seemed like it was always on the news, kidnappings.
Hmm.
And so that kind of sheltered some kids. I think it's more cars right now for me
Well, and
than
here's what I
anything.
just thought of too, is that like when you mentioned the junior high, I was like, oh yeah, did you see that video? Because there's someone recently
Yes,
on like the Morton Knights page post
sure
some
did.
teenager flying around, which like obviously awful and
Dangerous.
horribly dangerous. But it's not, I have a hard time thinking that 20 years ago teenagers weren't also recklessly driving.
I
I
know.
think
They
it's the
always have
awareness,
been.
it's another element of social media is that now
Yeah,
parents, adults have access to seeing all these awful things. Or it's like how, unintentionally I'm scrolling through dumb Facebook and see like the Peoria County coroner's reports and then I hear about all
right.
these horrible crimes that like I otherwise would not have had any awareness of. And now it's
Right.
like inescapable. So it's just
Exactly.
that added layer of doom and fear that I don't seek out, but just finds its way to me through these channels. And so now
Well,
there's
the
another thing.
algorithm, the
Yes,
algorithm
that
recommends
is
it for
how.
you.
Yeah,
That's another
exactly.
that's another discussion.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Episode topic.
Yeah.
I'll write that down.
We do need to start jotting down.
Mhm.
Um, I I just I I want, and I know some of this is on me, I want my kids to kind of have my 90s childhood,
Mhm.
um, as much as possible. A screen just wasn't a thing.
Mhm.
My dad had a computer. I knew how to play this little like hot potato or not hot potato, Mr. Potato Head, where you'd like move his nose and eyes and whatever. Like that was it. That was super basic. Um, and so thinking of like how does something like this get turned around?
Mhm.
And part of it, my thought is the number of really little kids I see with iPads, phones that are being handed those devices to quiet them when, and I understand it. There are times where
Mhm.
there's a lot going on in the house. And it's like, I need to be able to do the dishes or laundry, but I'm not giving them a screen. But I understand
Mhm.
how it's really easy to do that just so that you can complete a task.
Yeah.
But what's the trade-off? Um,
And
and I,
speaking of quieting kids, I think I have a screaming baby, so I'm
oh
gonna
no.
pause this and go check on her.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, I'm back. I just gave her some cocoa melon on the iPad, so I think she'll be okay.
Oh no. Wow. Yeah, no,
Just
that's
kidding.
That's gonna be very effective.
She's good.
All
Sorry
that
to
to say,
interrupt
no,
you.
that's okay.
It was a
Uh,
good transition.
yes. Well, and I think that maybe helps me kind of stop going on, because one of the points that we had written down, or you had written down, and I know we wanted to talk about, was kind of how do we see this um, in school,
Hmm.
or, in education, and and in case you haven't listened to episode one, we'll give you a quick recap on our backgrounds. I have, which I don't think I actually said in episode one, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree, oh, from Ball State University. Chirp,
Woohoo.
chirp, chirp.
Oh,
And a
well
master's
said.
degree in school counseling from Indiana Wesleyan. And I was a school counselor from 2011 to 2020, and then took a pause because 2020 also happened to be the year I had a baby, firstborn. And now I work as an academic coach. So, like, basically tutoring study skills is kind of a good way to summarize that. So for my perspective of how I see, and I work with teenagers, how I see this rewiring is the focus and attention
Hmm.
are they're super messed up. I don't have a better way to say that. They're really impacted. I'm thinking of one, of course I would not say their name, but I'm thinking of one student that I meet with in particular that I have met with now for 2 years. Lovely. Totally enjoy meeting with this student. I should have started keeping track of how many times we meet for an hour every week, how many times they touch their phone or their phone goes off in an hour.
Hmm.
It's a lot. And that's just impossible for you to focus on a task when you're getting 75 notifications. I mean, there are times where they're actively texting, like, it's just you and me, kid. Like, I
Hmm.
see you. Like, this isn't class where you can kind of tuck it under a desk. Like,
Hmm.
I'm sitting in front of you, and it just doesn't register for
Yeah.
them. Like,
Yeah.
they just can't help it. So that is one thing that hopefully I can at least help with. I know parents talk about it with me, that they struggle with it at home, and how to effectively manage a teenager with a device.
Hmm.
Yeah, more thoughts on that. But okay, that's my kind of, here's who I am, and
And
again.
yeah, no, and I thank you for that reminder too, because I got my bachelor's in English education from Eastern Illinois University. Go Panthers! A master's in comparative literature and a PhD in literary and cultural studies. So I s was a secondary high school ELA teacher in a variety of schools, like taught at a big inner city school, taught rural schools, taught abroad, taught kind of in suburb, smaller community, but now teach college students and teach future teachers specifically. So I really think that through, my career as a high school teacher, even just from like student teaching through my full-time jobs, like just seeing that shift, I feel like I really kind of lived, leading into and then out of the pandemic, just
Hmm.
noticing, that as it seems like another major, like, I mean, obviously is a major turning point in a lot of ways, but especially with students' relationships to their phones and to technology. So just kind of living that through the last decade. But then now teaching future teachers, it's like, okay, these are the students who lived the pandemic, who are in high school during the pandemic, and now have decided to become high school teachers themselves. So
Mm.
I'm really interested in that why question, knowing that so many of them had such challenging and different high school experiences than we did. Um, but then there's also that level of like you were mentioning, how easy it is to hide a phone under a desk and text in the middle of class and stuff. There's so many things like that like as a teacher I just let slide, or that, you know, you
It's
you
not worth the
you have to
argument.
choose
You
your
can't.
battles, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now it's like, God, there's so many battles that I did not fight, or that like so many things I ignored, that I wonder like what a disservice I did to those students, not just as like, okay, well, you missed out on today's lesson on F. Scott Fitzgerald, but no, like, how did I contribute to that rewiring by like not calling out that behavior? And I know, there's these are just the questions like, what should we be doing in that situation? And so then how do I help these future teachers also think about how to react in those situations or how to set expectations and actually, uphold expectations
Right.
for technology use in the classroom?
But do you even think, I mean, is that a fair thing to be like, they weren't engaged in my lesson when they had, I'm going to be very dramatic with the, cocaine in
Right.
their phone. Like you
Yeah.
can't go against
Mm-mm.
a slot machine, cocaine,
Mm-hmm.
Cheetos packet, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could have the most amazing lesson and
Mm-hmm.
probably did, and yet it's just not something, they're we're talking about their brains being rewired.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot put it down.
Mm-hmm.
um they have the whole internet in their hand. That's vastly more
Mm-hmm.
exciting than anything that's going to be happening, unfortunately, in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, maybe that leads me to ask, and this is certainly more for high school, junior high, because
Mm-hmm.
in college, I can't imagine they can implement, I mean, maybe they can, like a bell to bell,
Mm-hmm.
no device, no personal device
Mm-hmm.
policy. I have thoughts on it. Do you have thoughts on what is that feasible?
Yeah.
Is that a good idea? Is that even the school's role? Like,
Mm-hmm.
where do you sit with that?
I have lots of thoughts, but I can't say I have like a strong, clear opinion yet. It is one of those things
Yeah.
I think about in a lot of ways. Um, And I think that, this last year I was doing some clinical work or like observing my students doing clinicals out in the field. So I got to visit a variety of schools all around us and did see like different, just different policies in action. And I don't think any of the schools that I was in had a bell-to-bell policy or had like the bags or the lockers or
Yeah.
anything like the complete bans. But what I saw most successful were like the calculator pouches that students put their phones in when they walked in the classroom. You got it when you left. You could use your phone in the hall, but it wasn't on their person in class. But I don't, yeah, it's one of those things that I would like to be able to say that I support a full ban, but then I also hear and understand the reasons why not. So
Yeah.
talk me through your thoughts because I know that you have a clear
Yeah.
opinion on
Well,
this, and I want to know
and
why.
it's even developed
Yeah.
somewhat recently. I used to be in the camp of they should be allowed to like on their backpack or in their
Hmm.
backpack, like have their own device, their phone, or smartwatch, whatever. Um, and a lot of the argument gets made, and I've been reading more and more about it, like, well, it's for safety. If
Hmm.
something terrible were to happen, then they have a way to communicate. And I get it. I
Hmm.
completely understand that. But I think the disruption to not just learning, but social interaction, you mentioned the hallway, like sometimes they put them in the pouches and then they are allowed to
Hmm.
have them in common spaces or passing periods or lunch. Nobody's talking to one another.
Hmm.
And that part of interacting with your peers is lost because everyone's walking down the hall staring at their rectangle and
Hmm.
they're not talking to each other. And same thing at lunch. Like that's just been lost. And I would see that. I would actively see that,
Hmm.
kids walking down the hall, one earbud in, and staring at their rectangle. And I have recently, just with learning more and more about attention and focus and your ability to process information, when you have, even if it's not actively in your hand, you're thinking about it. You're thinking, what have I missed? Or the desire to touch the phone, because that's part of the addiction, is like
Hmm.
just touching it, is interrupting your ability to think and
Hmm.
process what's around you.
Hmm.
So I have now swung the other way that I'm for bell to bell bans, and I'm seeing more and more districts in the
Hmm.
across the country starting to implement that. And I think from the, of course, I don't have any that I can cite off the top of my head, but I've seen some where principals or, superintendents have said it was rough in the beginning
Hmm.
and not everybody was on board, but nobody has regretted it.
Hmm.
Nobody would go back and say, "Oh, I wish we didn't have that ban."
Hmm.
And I just think there's something to that.
Hmm.
And I would support it.
Yeah. And I think that's the number one thing is that like 360, like everyone has to be in it, even if they're not
Yes.
everyone agrees with it, but you have to have that
Right.
like expectation, the rules, the enforcement across the board, because that's where it gets challenging is when it's okay, I'm the one teacher who's saying no
Exactly.
phones in my classroom, then okay, they're gonna walk out in the hall, they can do whatever they want. Like that's not making, even if they're not using their phone in your classroom, that's still not helping their
Right.
attention and their learning broadly. But I think like yeah, back to the idea too of like, you know, am I responsible for this rewiring when I didn't shut down, when I didn't stop my students from using their phones in my class, when I just
Yeah.
ignored it. It's like that's one of those many reasons when teachers say like, well, that's not above my or that's above my pay grade or that's not
Yeah.
like I'm not a psychologist, right? I'm not responsible for
Part
I
of your role. You're not
exactly.
policing
Hmm.
someone's phone
Hmm.
use, and I don't think it is a teacher's job. You
Hmm.
cannot win that
Hmm.
battle. You just
Right.
can't.
Yeah.
And so you're right. If you're the one teacher in the building that enforces it
Hmm.
and no one else does, then really it doesn't matter. So it's in writing, hey, we have this thing, but if no one enforces it and they're not given the tools to, like, you just can't. You just
Hmm.
can't. You're competing against something you're always going to lose to.
Hmm.
The phone is forever more interesting. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's even more the other thing that I think about with these bell to bell bans is there's a lot of like terrible mischief that can happen
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
ability to record someone
Hmm.
without their knowledge at all times, especially like in bathrooms,
Hmm.
you know, things like that are just horrible. That's the only
Hmm.
word I can think of. And that was not something that I had, in school. No one
Hmm.
had the ability to, they might have had their little digital camera, which I specifically
Yeah.
remember getting my first digital camera
Oh
as a
yeah.
senior in high school. Before that, it was just the little disposable drop off at the whatever. I can't remember
Hmm.
the name of the store, some Kodak drop off
Hmm.
spot. It's like, here's all your pictures. So that just wasn't a thing. So
Hmm.
I think that's another piece of it is the ability to feel like you're not possibly going to be recorded at
Hmm.
a moment's notice without your knowledge.
Hmm.
I get that that can happen in public, but
Yeah.
if it's in a building that says we're bell to bell, no
Hmm.
phones, then that can't or shouldn't be able to
Yeah.
happen.
And this is like a fairly innocuous example, but like I remember seeing, you remember the app Be Real? I'm sure it's still a thing, but it was like super popular for
I have heard
a
of it.
few
I
months.
never had it.
It like get at a certain time of day, it prompts you to
Oh,
take a
yeah.
picture, and then it takes
Yes.
both like a front and a
Yes.
forward facing picture. And I distinctly remember watching these girls go up to a teacher in the hall and be like, "Hey, would you take a picture of us?" And so he thinks he's taking a picture of them, whatever, and then also is getting,
Yeah.
unknowingly a selfie of him that is now going out on this app
Right.
to all their, everyone in the school. And even just like that level of trust being undermined, that
Yeah.
like these students now know that we can get
Yeah.
away with stuff like that, and that the adults who are supposed to be, their trusted authorities
Yeah.
are they can undermine them in that way. And so it's just, yeah, again, the way that like these little things contribute to such a bigger picture, a bigger trend.
Right.
And we certainly will not answer
No.
all of these questions today or figure them out, but it's bringing up so
No.
many things that we'll need to continue returning to.
Right.
And the big question we had on the outline is like, what can we do to reverse the great rewiring? I've been like, can we even reverse it? Is that what we want to do? Or like what do we want to do moving forward, or what should we be doing? And I think about it too, just like with my little baby,
Yeah,
that it's almost like, okay, here's a blank slate. Like, and 5 months in, like that slate is already covered with all sorts of, it is not blank.
right.
But like, what do I want to be doing? What kind of future do I want to shape for her in terms of her relationship to technology? And like, I'm asking myself these questions every day. It's you called the phones rectangles, and that's how Mitch and I joke. It's like, oh, she's looking at the rectangle. Oh, look at all
Yeah,
daddy's rectangles, because like we're we have lots of little rectangles, and
lots. Yeah,
she knows there's
same.
lots going on there, and I try so hard to like shield her from them. And then I feel silly when I'm like, okay, why am I hiding a YouTube video behind my baby's tummy time book? Like I should be, I should not be, if I'm,
I did it too.
exactly. It's like she's not talking to me. I need someone's voice in this house.
Uh-huh.
But and even just the question of like, okay, if we're FaceTiming grandma, like should she be looking at
Well, but
grandma,
that's
or are we,
different.
but that is
That's different.
different. That
Yeah.
is different, but it's still like, but I don't want her to know that the phone is an exciting thing to, because how's she gonna know that grandma's not there when it's not a FaceTime, you
Well, but
know?
grandma doesn't have a theme song and bouncing characters in the
No.
background, and
Oh, but she
transitions.
kind of does.
Does she have her own theme song? Oh, please include that.
Uh,
But
but you know
that
what I
is, you
mean?
bring
Yeah.
up a good point, but
Yeah.
that was
When,
something that I
yeah.
worried about even, with during COVID or
Hmm.
kind of post a little bit COVID. Camden did speech therapy, and
Hmm.
some of that had to be online.
Hmm.
But from all the things that I was reading, it, if if it's going to be a screen, having a conversation over a screen is far better than here's this video that cannot interact with
Hmm.
you, a
Hmm.
YouTube or whatever. So I think a FaceTime with grandma is perfectly acceptable. Now, if it's like 6 hours of FaceTime with grandma, maybe that's a different thing, but
Grandma would love that.
I'm
But
sure she would. Um, but yeah, the what can we do? I mean, even I've changed some things since Camden was little. We have a Google Home. I did not install the Google Home. I'm totally throwing Brian under the bus for this one. I did not want it. It's always listening. It's creepy. Sometimes she says, "Sorry, I didn't get that. I wasn't talking to you, Google. I didn't call for you." She's
uh-huh.
probably listening right now. I don't know where he's got his Google down here. It's probably going to interrupt me. But Camden figured out,
Mm.
without even me being able to figure out, that you can pull up videos. Like
Mm.
YouTube is on there.
Hmm.
And I used to let him watch some, like, I don't even know what it was, Hot Wheels, or it was
Hmm.
even before his Hot Wheels phase, like some
Monster
animals.
trucks. Oh, animals.
Yeah, animals or
Yeah.
monster trucks, but something animated.
Ampuli of Lorenzini. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We all know
Yeah.
about those.
Oh, yeah, he taught me that. Google it, people. Ampuli of Lorenzini. I don't know how old he was at that point, 3 or 4 when he taught me about that. But it was YouTube, and
Hmm.
something came up, and it was supposed to just be YouTube Kids. And I heard, I wish I would have written it down, but it was like, oh, this is not
Hmm.
appropriate. And so I shut that down. It's like, we're done.
Hmm.
And he didn't enjoy that. And it took probably a couple weeks of, he called them school videos. I don't know why. Can we do school videos? Can we do school
Yeah.
videos? And then eventually he stopped asking. But
Hmm.
so we no longer we no longer do YouTube, because even on the kids version, it's like creepy stuff came up, and
Hmm.
I was not about ready to have something that I need to explain to him later
Hmm.
come up and be traumatic. So I guess just if people are using screens, I mean, I don't count TV. I know
Hmm.
some people don't do TV at all, which is perfectly fine. I do. I like TV as a kid. I mean, and I still
Hmm.
like TV as an adult. There are plenty of shows that some I'm too embarrassed to admit that I watch that like that's my way to just kind of disconnect from whatever stress. Not that a
Hmm.
5-year-old is disconnecting from his stress, but it's
But
enjoyable for
yeah,
him,
yeah.
and he's using some imagination too.
Hmm.
Um,
And learning about ampullae of Lorne's, like that came from a TV. That's a
yes, it
documentary,
did.
right?
Well,
I mean,
and I'm pretty specific about what he can and
yeah.
can't watch. But anything on PBS Kids app is go. Um, and most nature shows, he's allowed to watch. Some might be a little. There's, I mean, some nature shows are violent
Yeah, nature
because
is
nature is
violent.
violent.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of pre-screen, fast forward real quick through some
Hmm.
things like, is there a lion attacking? And anyways, um, but yeah, nature shows are fine. We do Mr. Rogers, we do Sesame Street, that kind of stuff. And then he does get his Hot Wheels, Paw Patrol,
Hmm.
um, Spidey and his amazing friends, that kind of stuff. So,
For sure.
anyways,
I think this is a great preview
yeah,
into our
yeah,
our next episode. We'll
yes,
dive further into screen use, this idea of screen use versus screen time, and yeah,
yeah, totally.
screens, rectangles, a lot of rectangles or
So,
triangles if you're on The Office season, what, 7?
you would think I'd have the seasons
That
memorized by now, but yeah, it's not the triangle, and I'm picturing Jim right now in my head with the eye makeup and the bad outfit. Oh my gosh.
doing the
Yeah.
spin.
I'm a little surprised that we didn't incorporate an Office reference in our first
Well, I
episode.
forgot to say you can find us online at www.millennialmomthoughts.gov forward slash
Backslash
forward
or forward
slash.
slash, thank you, not backslash. Forward slash. It's controversial even for the internet. Um, yeah, I love that so
So
much.
good.
We should we should just make a Google Doc that has that at the top and
Hmm.
share it somehow. Yeah,
Anyway,
join us for the next one.
just next time. Yep,
We're gonna keep going.
absolutely.
Should I say peace out? I don't know.
I,
Is that a thing?
I don't know what's the
Maybe
opposite of
you
what's
should
up, what's
end.
up?
I was gonna say maybe you should just end with what's up, what's up, what's
What's up,
up.
what's up, what's up? Till next time, catch you on the flippity flip. That's what we'll say.
There,
Catch you
thank
on
you.
the flippity flip.